or computers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions.
All right. Good morning, everybody. All right. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're having yourselves a fantastic start to the AM here. Happy Monday. And yeah, welcome back, everybody, after a little bit of a week off here. Yeah, hope you guys are all doing well. Excited to be back trading with everyone here this morning. Slowly settling in here to my new place. So still gonna have a little bit of I don't know, some technical things I need to figure out and sort out. So not quite perfect here yet. So if there's any issues or things like that, please let me know. Over the move, I've had a bunch of things, I don't know, magically like stop working over the course of the drive. So I had some issues with my microphone. Hopefully that is sorted and working fine here. From what I can tell, I think everything's okay. Things along those lines. But yeah, let me know. And yeah, we'll figure it out to make sure everything kind of works the way that we expect or works the way that we want. And yeah, we'll kind of get after it. Like I mentioned in the Discord chat here this weekend, I have a desire to test this out over Zoom at some point. That's not going to happen until I get my internet connection all sorted out here. So in the short term, kind of working on a little bit of a compromised internet. Now, speed should be more than enough for our needs and our desires, but I just don't have the ability to kind of or don't have the bandwidth, we'll call it, right, to be able to stream to 3 separate sources. So we'll figure that out once my internet is sorted out, and that should take about a month or so here, unfortunately. In the short term, I'm going to be on effectively the same setup I was on 2 weeks ago, so using Starlink and things along those lines. So should be fine. But yeah, was kind of hoping I would have my super speed, Super Saiyan mode internet connection all set up. So that's not quite done. So first thing, right, back after a little bit of time away from the market, basically the objective here for myself today is to like ease myself back into trading and to like reclaim kind of like some rhythm and flow in the market, right? Obviously there's like a little bit of a maybe hidden bias or a hidden intention to try to like make up for missing last week or needing to trade, big numbers or do things along those lines. I think human nature after a little bit of a holiday is like you want to I don't know, go really aggressive, right? You really want to go really kind of hard, and I'm not sure if that's necessarily the smartest way to trade or the smartest way to behave. So my intention here today to kind of just like get back to the flow of things. Obviously, take advantage of opportunities that are there, and just make sure that I'm doing things kind of the right way here. Zero compromises, zero kind of mistakes, and just not giving myself a situation to kind of start off on the wrong foot. In general, right, for myself here today, that's going to mean that I'm going to be sizing down here just a little bit, right? I'm going to fight back against that normal kind of dopamine rush and just make sure that I'm maintaining control instead of optimizing for a daily P&L. So not to say that you guys need to size down or anything lines, but it's just kind of good, like we'll call it trader hygiene, to kind of force myself to slow down just a little bit, make sure that my details are sharp around the edges. And then once those things are all firing, to kind of get back to it. Oh, interesting. Okay, give me a sec here. All right. Should be able to see my chart here now on YouTube. Cool. Should be able to see it here now. Caesar, apologies. So yeah, just a few things. Yeah, probably still need a little bit of work here to make sure everything's functioning the way that I want, but everything looks like it should be okay here now. So appreciate that. Thank you. And yeah, hopefully everyone can hear me here fine. Maybe hear a slightly more tired version of me. It's going to take a little bit of time to get used to these 5 a.m. wake ups. But besides that, guys, really looking forward to trading with you all. Missed, honestly, trading with everyone here. And yeah, I mean, feeling a little bit tired after the drive, but otherwise okay and ready to go. So first things first, right? Like I said, really just gonna be focusing on controlling my dopamine here today. Make sure that I'm really focusing on the elements that turn me and kind of keep me a profitable trader. So, you know, my bias, right? Really fighting back against my greed, really fighting back against kind of like my impulses, and just putting myself in situations where it's easy to be green. If I'm thinking back to what that means, right? I want to kind of think back to sort of how we ended our last week prior to me taking a little bit of time off, right? That week ended up being relatively successful because we focused on closing our trades aggressively as our P&L was increasing. So didn't give the market too much credit, didn't give it like too much, yeah, I think credit's the right word. Didn't give it too much credit in thinking that it's going to run forever, and instead just took our money when it was there, instead of, you know, forcing trades or forcing opportunities or holding out for monster wins. So I would rather honestly take my little scalps, right? Take my quick 1R, 2R wins and reset and look for opportunities to trade them again, instead of hoping that I get like a, you know, 100-point move all in one candle. So I'm not going to be holding out for that home run. I'm looking to basically just get on base, right? Get my kind of rhythm going here again, and then look to build out my techniques and my skills after, right, from there. So yeah, primary focus here, compound, right? Compound good decisions. Those decisions compound well enough, then the P&L will take care of itself. And for me, that's more than valuable. So yeah, that's really the starting point here. That's really kind of how I feel. And yeah, really looking forward to trading with you all here from my mountain retreat, and excited to be back here again and kind of back in sort of flow. So first things first, right? We're gonna check the economic calendar. Should have a relatively busy week here with FOMC, right? I think that happens on Wednesday. And so generally FOMC weeks are going to be a little bit more volatile, right? And potentially a little bit choppier, and not always a good combo. So we'll see if we can get ourselves a clear bit of kind of like data to react off of, or some nice information for us to trade with. From a economic calendar perspective, right? It's nothing too crazy here today. We've got obviously ISM and stuff like that here at 10 and then 9:45. So that might slow me down here just a little bit this morning. So we're gonna have data dropping pretty much immediately. I'm going to slow down probably just a little bit, let things kind of settle out, and then go from there. But besides that, looks like it should be a relatively smooth session, and hopefully, right, we can kind of get back to where we want to be. From a implied volatility perspective, right, we're at 24.21. So VIX is still relatively elevated, all things considered, and we have about a 1.5% implied daily range here. And we certainly haven't done that yet here. So lots of space for us, should have a lot of opportunities. And yeah, hopefully we can kind of finish off on the right side of them here this morning. Like I mentioned, right, it's kind of first day back, testing my office and my setup. Was able to get everything built there yesterday. So if something looks wrong or something sounds off or something along those lines, please let me know. I did my best effort to test. But yeah, we still got some work to do. Primarily, my headphones stopped working for whatever reason. So we're looking for a replacement on those. But that's not going to be a huge impact here on the stream. Just going to have to find an alternative for when we're doing our one-on-one calls. So besides that here, team, yeah, let's kind of get after it here. Let's start figuring things out. Let's figure out how we want to kind of manage our trading day. And then from there, let's put ourselves in a good situation to kind of execute the variables we can control and just have ourselves a really, really strong trading session. And then, just last thing, right? Again, this is not live here today, but at some point here, I am going to set up that Zoom link. And the Zoom will not be, it's not going to be an alternative to Discord. I think that there was a little bit of confusion there with how I phrased that. So the Discord stream is going to continue to be active for our premium DTR members. But there's just going to be the option to use the Zoom link instead of YouTube, right? So the Zoom should remove some of the latency differences there. And it'll make sure that if we reach capacity inside our Discord live stream, that people aren't negatively impacted. So we're going to have just effectively 3 options. And so just give a little bit more flexibility. And yeah, I think that will be ultimately a positive for everyone. And again, kind of can go from there. I think if you guys think back, my biggest frustrations generally are when people complain about the latency. It's not something I have much control over there on YouTube's end. So any option I can kind of come up with, right, to help alleviate some of those concerns and be proactive there, ultimately, I think makes a big difference and puts us all in a good situation. All right. So enough yapping away here. Let's kind of get after it. Let's have ourselves a great session. Let's see if this coffee can start kicking in here. And yeah, let's get after it. So first things first here, what's the count on ES? Let's start there. And yeah, let's have ourselves a great day, team. Welcome back. So what do we think? What's the count? Yeah, it's a 2 out of 3 here to the upside with volume. Now, it's not exactly a tremendous volume profile, right? It's relatively weak volume. It would be easy for us to get more volume than what we saw there on Friday. So I think it is reasonable for us to maintain a bias here in both directions. But we'll figure that out. So 2 out of 3 here to the upside, increasing non-outlier volume. Right, so we do have some flexibility here in both directions, and our primary target here this morning is going to be our pre-market highs. That's going to be 5,700, and then we're going to go up to like 5,730, right, which is then approximately the Friday high. So 5,700, right, as our starting point, then up towards 5,730, so we'll go 5,710, 5,720, 5,730. And then up beyond that, maybe like 5770, right? Kind of our next kind of point of contact here to the left, which is obviously like a month back. So 5740, 57. Cool. And then to the downside here, we're going to be targeting Friday's lows. We're already at pre-market low. So our starting point here, Friday low, and then immediately to our left, we're going to go down to like 5520. So pre-market low is, we'll call it 5610. And then we can go down to 5550 maybe. One thing worth noting, right, is that I mean, this is a pretty aggressive climb up, right, in the last sort of week or so from a market's perspective, right? We've seen quite an aggressive move higher here, all things considered, and for lack of a better term, I think bears have dropped the ball here pretty aggressively, right? They've attempted to do a couple fake outs here, right? There are a couple breakdowns through previous lows, and each of those fake outs or each of those lows don't really sustain. They kind of end up being dipped by opportunities. So I'm not to say that that is inevitably right a bear market bounce. It's starting to feel a little bit less like that, and it's seemingly a reasonable opportunity for bulls to sort of maintain their control here after our liberation day, right, from tariffs like described. So optimistic that we have some flexibility here in both directions. Wouldn't be surprising for us to get our first red day in 9 sessions. So if we can get ourselves, some nice trend to bull action, it should be a pretty strong day. All right, NQ, how do we feel? Similar, not so similar? What's the count? Yeah, for sure, Joe. I think there's an opportunity for that to be potentially in play here today. Generally, if I'm going to be looking for a mean reversion opportunity, or something that's going to like eat back a decent amount of range, we would need to see some sort of like failed bullish move first, right? So, like if I'm going to look to be bearish aggressively, then I'm going to need to look to play that sort of fake out and then breakdown scenario. I do have like a mean reversion strategy or a mean reversion setup trigger, and I do think it's a little bit unlikely that I get an opportunity off of that here today, simply because we're opening up in sort of the implied middle of Friday's range. So generally, I want to play mean reversion opportunities when we have daily extremes, and we don't quite have that scenario here in play yet today. So that might be something that sets up a little bit better later on in the week. But today, probably not a textbook opportunity for that strategy. So yeah, we need to see some sort of opportunity. For me, short term today, it's kind of more of a breakout day, breakout in either direction. And then we can kind of figure it out from there. But yeah, good question. All right, NQ. So yeah, spot on here, guys, right? 1 out of 3 to the upside. We've got decreasing volume relative to ES. So a little bit of a divergence between the indexes. Might slow us down just a little bit here, but again, gives us enough evidence to suggest that we do have flexibility here in both directions. And again, right, we're going to be targeting pre-market highs. So 2100, right, kind of as our starting point. And then right, and then kind of up from there. So we'll go like 23 at the next point. And then we can kind of go up to that next point of contact on that trend line, which we'll call 2600. All right, you can tell it's still early for me here. Cool. And then to the downside here, we're targeting Friday's low, so 19.7 as our starting point. And then going down towards like 19 on the dot, I think makes some sense. Again, not expecting those moves to happen all in one go here. I'm expecting things to be a little bit slower potentially here today. Kind of looks like price action's been a bit of a grind higher in the last week or so. But let's see if we can get ourselves some nice elements of enthusiasm. All right. CL, what's the count? How do we feel? Yeah, Ajay, spot on. So 1 for 3 here to the downside. Kind of like a bullish fake up there, right, on Friday. All right, so we're going to be looking for a move. I don't think it's too surprising we bounced off of that Wednesday low, so like $55. I think that's going to be the starting point here. or kind of target point here, I should say. We'll go 56, 50, 56, 55, 50, 55. And we break down under that, it could be a good night for oil for a little bit. But we'll see. Wrong side. And then to the upside here, right, targeting pre-market highs. So we'll call that 58 and then up towards like 60 bucks, I think. Targets. Got a lot of space here this morning on CL. I mean, you can kind of go from there. So looks pretty positive here. I would say that the general story that we have on the index level and CL is kind of like either weak trending price action or non-trending PA. So what that means, right, is that we're looking for consolidation breakouts. So Joe, just kind of go back to your comment there that you made on YouTube. Is it going to be a mean reversion day? Generally, the pre-market conditions aren't setting up for that here super well. What we're being kind of told that it's more of a breakout opportunity, right? We're looking for that kind of textbook consolidation breakout, and that's going to need to be supported here by some element of enthusiastic volume. Without that volume profile here this morning, then we're going to struggle to get any clean price action, and it's just going to end up being a little bit of a grind. What I don't want to get caught up in here today is kind of like that low volume chop or that low volume grind. This is not necessarily a market where I need to be hyper aggressive. And I think that my bias right after a week away is to want to be aggressive here today and to like maybe potentially even force trades. I want to counter that right as much as I possibly can here this morning. If I'm able to do that, then I'm going to be in really good shape and I can kind of like build up my kind of feel right for the market here again. One thing, right? I've said this before, and I've said this after every time I've taken a little bit of time off, especially around Christmas. When you kind of get that, 5 or 6 days away from the market, you do lose a little bit of like that feel for it. And so even when I was working institutionally, if I ever took an extended holiday, right, we'll call that 5 days plus, so you miss a week of trading. I had to basically trade on paper for a couple days, right? Basically just prove that, hey, I'm back in my rhythm, back in my flow before I was ever able to go live. So I don't necessarily, I'm not going to trade paper here today. I'm willing to kind of put my money where my mouth is, but I'm going to be, yeah, like I said, just really focusing right on keeping my max risk really tight and just not putting myself in situations where I'm allowing myself to get tilted or frustrated or annoyed or anything along those lines, right? Need to be proactive, not reactive here today, and just really emphasize those. If I do, I'm going to be in good shape. If I don't, then it's going to feel like I need a vacation after a vacation. Not really. Okay, Apple 3 for 3 here to the downside. You guys don't want to finish the day feeling exhausted, right? That's really the priority. Like I don't want to drain mental capital at a disproportionate pace because that's going to just compound in it. Does that make sense? Earnings tomorrow or this. Big gap down. Netflix would be a good mean reversion opportunity, right? Mean reversion here back to the upside, kind of like an overreaction gap down based on the relative price action you've seen. Google 1 for 3. And then, like I said, right, VIX hanging out 24.21. So implied range of about 1.5%, give or take here on a daily basis. We're not quite at that here yet. Right, we're at about half that range, right? Give or take. We do have a decent amount of volatility here left in store for us, and let's see if the markets want to cooperate. Generally, with something like FOMC on the docket, it's like you get like a day of positioning, right? Or you get a positioning day here kind of going into it. That's probably not going to still be here yet today. That's probably something that happens more Tuesday morning, maybe Wednesday morning, kind of in the run up towards it. But anticipating that we do get maybe more of a position trade than we do as like a textbook trend day here while we wait for the Trump versus Powell fight to kind of resolve itself. There's a lot of kind of pressure, right, on the Fed to behave in a certain way. And I think the market is waiting for that in a certain context, right, to see if they bow down to the pressure. Now, again, don't anticipate that to necessarily be the case here. I think Powell's still going to maintain his kind of like independence, but we'll see, right, what their kind of tone is from FOMC, and that's certainly going to dictate how markets are going to behave as we kind of creep up towards that initial summer period. So for me, right, it's kind of the first day here of, we'll call it summer trading. Last couple of years, the summer has been really, really good to me. It's been an opportunity or been a really, really good, strong market. And I'm hopeful that that pattern sort of continues. If I'm thinking about my performance here generally so far this year, it's been really strong. And long may that momentum kind of continue. Long can we kind of keep up that upside. And hopefully, right, we can kind of keep building up on what has been a really strong start to the year. I don't know if I have too much else to say here this morning. I'm a little bit unfamiliar with my office and my circumstances here. Maybe hearing a little bit more of an echo than I'm used to. But yeah, let me know if it impacts the stream or if it kind of sounds funky or looks off. It should be okay. Hopefully we can have ourselves a strong day. Any questions here, team? Any questions? Yeah, I think everything's kind of back to normal. Everything's sounding okay. But you set up a new office, you build a new desk, you do all that kind of stuff. It just takes a little bit of time to get used to. And the first time I'm yapping away into the void here. So go from there. I didn't get a sit-stand desk. Couldn't find one that honestly shipped in time. So I ended up just getting a big slab of wood and some desk legs and kind of built something custom here. All right, team. So we got 2 minutes here or so till market open. Same deal like always. I'm just going to go make myself a quick cup of coffee. Spend a couple minutes here doing a little bit of like visualization and some breath work. I'm going to get my mind right just to have myself a strong trading day. But optimistic that I'm going to have really nice conditions here for me today. Optimistic that there's going to be enough volatility for me to have some joy. And then from there, let's see if we can go from there. Hey, Leo. So right now I'm on the daily time frame. So you can see here, right, on the 1D, the way that I look for, or the way that I look at things here, right, is I'm looking for the first time frame that gives me a signal that matches my daily pattern. So generally, I'm going to be looking for opportunities to enter here on the 3, 5, 10, and 15 min time frames. Basically, whichever time frame gives me a signal that matches my daily plan here first. So we'll cycle through those time frames a little bit here this morning, and I'll do my best to kind of talk you through which time frame I'm on. You're always gonna be able to see it though here, kind of top left hand corner. There should be like a number 3 right there that tells me I'm on the 3 min. Here it tells me I'm on the 5. Right here it tells me on the 10. So we'll switch around through them a little bit here this morning. But yeah, hopefully there won't be any time frame ambiguity here today, and can kind of figure it out. And yeah, Vinny, that's exactly sort of the plan. So if I end up not liking kind of this current desk setup, um, and we'll make something a little bit better. But I got no complaints. I like the way that this office is set up. And yeah, we'll have ourselves a day. So just give me a second here, team. I'll be back in about a minute or so, and we'll jump back on just to chat then. All right, so that's market open. And yeah, let's see how the day sort of shapes up, right? Let's see where that enthusiasm kind of creeps in here today. And yeah, like I said, hopefully, right, we can put ourselves in a situation where we can take advantage of some nice volatility, right? And hopefully, right, a really strong day. Should be back to normal here, right? So I'm gonna have that ding set up, right? So if I execute a trade or enter a trade, you guys are gonna hear that ding for when that position gets entered. Obviously, I'll do my best. That wasn't an entry, right? That's just one of the signals. So obviously, I'll do my best, right, to kind of break down those opportunities as they come together, and kind of figure it out from there. So if you guys have obviously any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. And yeah, let's kind of get back on track here. Let's have ourselves a great day, and let's have ourselves a ton of fun. And yeah, the stream is live here. It always is. So you know, there's some pros and cons to that, but I'll do my very best to kind of highlight to you guys what I'm doing, what I'm thinking, how I think the market is behaving, and I'll walk you guys through sort of my trading process here and kind of some of the variables and techniques that I'm looking at here. So if you have any questions, if there's something that doesn't make any sense, if something you feel like is missing, please, right? Ask questions, right? Get your clarity answered in the moment. It's a lot better to get that answered immediately than it is to kind of sit and wait and kind of like fester on ideas. That's generally how we kind of create long-term confusion, and not really what my objective is here, right? Ultimately, my goal here is to be as transparent as I possibly can in my trading process. And if I am basically not answering a question or something doesn't make sense, it's better that I answer that in the moment instead of people feeling as if like they're missing something, right? And then that I'm like lying to them or something along those lines. Not really my intention, not really what I anticipate to be happening. But if we let that confusion kind of compound, then it tends to end up. Not expecting there to be a mean reversion setup here on the indexes, right? Simply because we did not open right at extreme levels. We opened up in the implied middle of like Friday's range. So no expectation, right, that it's going to be a quote unquote mean reversion day. A mean reversion day would need to open up at extremes, and we're not doing that here this morning. So this is more of a breakout day here, right? We're looking for breakout conditions, not looking for, yeah, mean reversion. Not going to be this here today, or at least it would be unlikely that we get that opportunity here early door. Make sense? Like CL, right? We have a 2-minute mean reversion signal. My dog's being very cuddly. We have a 2-minute mean reversion signal, right? And CL, it makes a little bit of sense because you're actually opening up right at the lower end of the extremes, right? So we've got price action that's like opening up at the lows, which is why, right, it makes a little bit more sense, right, that you're going to get those types of opportunities. So we don't have that type of PA on the indexes. We have that on CL. And so yeah, maybe that would be more the opportunity. But yeah, again, right, not going to be aggressive, not forcing it. Yeah, gonna honestly just trying to like work back my way into some dopamine here, right? Yeah, I spent a whole week here kind of driving and thinking about my trading and thinking about all that kind of stuff. Again, not going to do anything here that like destroys my ability to be pretty chill. Yeah, Ricky loved it. He had a great time. We had it was an awesome drive. Like obviously spent, I don't know, it was like 10 hours a day on the road, which was pretty intense. But we did like a national or different provincial park each day, and it was epic. So we saw a lot of beautiful things. He had a nice little stare down with a moose. So that was definitely exciting for him. But yeah, no real complaints. I didn't get a single speeding ticket, which I somehow cannot believe for the life of me. So that was pretty cool. That worked out pretty well. But besides that, yeah, really smooth drive. No issues with the car. Spent the entire time with like massage seats running, so that was pretty good. But yeah, I still can't believe I didn't get a speeding ticket. I was doing some pretty serious numbers, and I don't know how I got away. Yeah, we'll make sure that there's no coppers here in the stream before I admit to any more kind of crimes. But yeah, it was good. It was good. Well, a once in a lifetime type journey. He's being a little bit funky this morning. I don't know, maybe he just saw a bear or something. Yeah, there was one time here, Bert, where I was going a little bit too fast. I was doing like 180 maybe, passing a couple semis. That was a little bit quicker than the speed limit, but I got away. I think by joining the stream, everyone has signed a social contract to not report any non-trading crimes. That's the deal, the implied deal we've all made here. No, kilometers. I drive an RSQ8, Cole. There's not a ton of volume here, right, on our indexes, so it continues to kind of look like consolidation here to a certain extent, right, until we get that high conviction breakout volume. We don't have that here setting up as of yet. So again, right, going to be a little bit more chill here. And just be a little bit patient. We've got data dropping in 7 minutes, so not a huge rush to trade here before that red folder data, right? It's a relatively big event here. That PMI is red folder. Or sorry, ISM is red folder, but the final services is orange. Getting an orange or yellow right at 9:45 should make some, I don't know, maybe an expectation of some volatility stepping up. But it just is a opportunity where I'm going to be slowed down here just a little bit here from the open. And again, right, not really in a reason to, or not getting much evidence here that I need to rush a decision here as of yet. So it's okay to be chill. I don't have to be, yeah, super aggressive here yet this morning. And I'll address the rumors now before it comes up here in the middle of the trading day. No, I am not going to be taking over as the CEO at Berkshire Hathaway. I know that was floating around on the internet here somewhere, but no, Buffett couldn't match my pay package, so unfortunately, I'm going to be going a different route. But I did appreciate the opportunity to to see that sort of like official retiring. It's gonna sound maybe a bit morbid, but I was maybe bad, but I was kind of hoping that Buffett was going to honestly retire at the job, right? Or I thought that he was going to maybe like if he retires, like it's kind of one of those things. I think that if he retires here where he does, I always thought he was going to die at the helm, which sounds really bad. It's like this has been his life work. He's been doing this forever. You know, he's this old. Why would he retire now? So it's one of those things. Like now that he's going to be stepping away from his responsibilities, you know, maybe you know, this is going to be like a pseudo death sentence for him. Terrible way to describe it, but like, you know, some people, like they're old people, they die when their like wife you know, dies. They die like 2 weeks later. You know, maybe Buffett's the same. He gives up his true love, right, managing Berkshire Hathaway, and all of a sudden he doesn't know what to do with this time anymore. So a little bit morbid, but that was definitely my first thought. Yeah, I kind of expected him to be like a pope and you know, die at the helm, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe those are some early morning Michael thoughts that didn't need to share with everyone, but hey, it is what it is. So 110 kilometers an hour is kind of like the at some spots in the Trans Canada was sort of the speed that's was that like maybe 70 miles an hour, something like that. Where do you see what time frame do you see the increasing outlier volume? I see on the to the downside. Yeah, so we would need to get a breakdown here under the low of the opening range. It's not quite in play here yet. Yeah, man. Look, I did really good time, Tom. So no complaints. I was able to yeah, to get to my dad's actually like about a day before I expected to. So that was really nice. Got to spend a little bit of extra time with him. So maybe I have a setup here on CL, right? There's a nice little breakdown here. High volume, right? Kind of a pretty aggressive selling candle to start the day off. So maybe this is a little bit more kind of within our wheelhouse here of what would be a tradable opportunity. So I'm going to start to map this thing out. Sorry. So for now, right, we'd be looking for the pullback entry technique. And let's see how this thing reacts inside that range. Again, I'm going to be really patient with this. Although it's mapped out, right, I'm not going to be entering a trade here for at least 2 minutes. I want to wait for that 9:45 data to drop prior to me looking to make an entry decision. So let's be a little bit patient here, but I'm going to be watching it for sure. NQ, right? That looking like a pretty textbook fake out. So good thing we stayed away from that. That would have been pretty nasty. And let's see if CL does the same or not. Again, right? Like I said, guys, I'm not going to be placing a trade here until that 9:45 data drops. No point for me to be hyper aggressive, right? With that algo, basically risk, right, showing up. So happy to be patient, happy to be deliberate. Go from there. My dog is fighting for attention here a little thing. Might actually get an increasing volume breakout here on NQ. That would be interesting. Okay, inside bar setup on CL. Okay. That there, that ding you heard was a 15 min NQ reversion strategy. I actually didn't think that this was going to be something that triggers here this morning, but it has. That's a little bit interesting. I will be looking at this here. Yeah, actually, I would be very interested in this. So, first thing we gotta do, right, is map out our profit target. We're looking at about 125 points away from our close signal. You're looking at about here. Right, and then we want to box this in, obviously, right? So we got two options here. For now, we'd still be looking for the pullback entry technique. So pullback here under 2023. We'll see if this thing can behave. So definitely starting to look for some opportunities. And this is on the 15 min time frame. And again, this would be a one contract play here, right? This would be a one contract play. And we need to get under 2022, right? Ideally, as close to 20,000 as possible, right? As a ideal entry price. That allows me to get basically the position sizing that I would like to do, right? I don't want to be exceeding my max loss number here on this potential setup. I also don't need to be in a rush to execute this here right away. So patience is going to be almost like a superpower here today, right? This idea of like compromising a rule or breaking a process or something along those lines, just so I can get some action and feel alive, is really not a smart long-term decision. So even though it might make me some money here short-term, not a pattern of behaviors that I would like to consistently reward. So yeah, again, I need to be a little bit cautious, need to be a little bit patient. Markets aren't moving that quickly here yet today, so I'm not going to miss out anything by being more deliberate. So let's see if it can give me a nice little possible opportunity. Everyone understand what we're looking for here? Beautiful. Good. Yeah, gentle pullback into that blue line for now, right, would be sort of what I'm looking for. Although now we're going to be switching to the aggressive entry technique. So that does actually make it a little bit easier for me to get my entry sizing. So I'm actually going to be watching here already almost immediately. Anywhere inside this range is a reasonable stop loss, or sorry, reasonable entry price. Right, I basically need a 48 or better to be able to justify this. So I'm very, very interested here. Let's see if we can find some support in between basically this blue line and this red line. Stop loss would be 2023.25. I'm just going to round that down to 2023. And let's see if this thing can pull back again. I need like a 48 or better. Right, so that blue line or better is what I'm looking for here. And let's see if it can happen. Okay, so watching closely here. Okay, guys, so I have entered that trade. Hopefully you guys all heard that ding. Fill price 2047. Fill price 2047. One contract. Maybe a little bit prematurely here. Let's see if it can bounce. Yeah, I actually got stopped out there on that trade, guys. I did get stopped out on that mean reversion opportunity. Minus 480.80. Classic. This thing can set up for me here again. Potentially, but I don't like that little fake out. And this thing could set back up, right? If it just wants to fake out and go, which would then push my stop loss to be 2016.50, but we're going to wait this thing out here. So fine, that was a reasonable bet to make. I'm okay with that. But a failed little move up and over, fine. If I'm thinking about that trade objectively there, right? Maybe not the perfect entry. Got maybe a little bit aggressive with my entry timing. That's okay. Yeah, and still kept the loss small, waited, but was patient. I do think I followed my rules here relatively well. But I just allowed myself to get faked out. And that's fine. That's going to happen. But we can try again always. Not a big deal. Again, right? Our objective here as traders is to be really deliberate with our position sizing and to make it easy for ourselves to lose without much like pain, right? So if you're a trader, you're going to take 1,000 losing trades over the course of your career, thousands of losing trades over the course of your career. So it really is the ability to lose in control, to be chill with your losses, to be deliberate with how you manage risk. That's going to be a better indicator of if you're successful or not. Based on the technique that I trade, right? I don't need to be correct on 80% of my decisions to be profitable. I need to be correct on like 30% of my decisions to be green. And hopefully, right, I can significantly outperform that potential win rate percentage to find my kind of style. Again, right, if we allow one losing trade to send us over the edge, we have no chance to be profitable traders. So need to make sure, right, that we're being honestly chill, right? Not overreacting to a loss, not overreacting to a win. Not like having a referendum on our ability after each little micro decision. We're never one trade away from accomplishing our objectives. So we can't be one trade away from destroying them either. And it's okay if I get faked out, right? That happens. That's a part of the game. So if we make that personal, we put ourselves in those situations, it becomes impossible for us to win. And if a trade is strong, it'll give me multiple chances to enter. And that's totally reasonable. So here, right, if I'm going to play this on the same thesis here again, I would need under 30, right? That's my entry price. I'm watching this thing again. And again, by forcing myself to keep my loss small, I'm less than one trade away from being green here. And then we can hopefully look to pyramid and do all that kind of fun stuff this morning. Okay, so still watching here, still watching. We got 10 a.m. data dropping in 4 minutes. So again, I might just wait for that. Because based on the pace, right, that we've seen markets move here so far today, it's not like we're going to get that 125 point move, right, all in one click. So if it takes a little bit longer, no big deal. Now, shame that it's back up above my entry price. Just guys, as a reminder, right? If you have questions that you want to get answered intraday, please don't be sending them in like random Discord channels. Use the YouTube chat, right? Or use the Discord chat. And please don't treat me like your FAQs for stuff that you could answer doing your own little research. It's not fair to everyone here. Okay, so a little bit unlucky, right, that we got shaken out and this thing is moving here now. Again, we'll see if we can get ourselves a good entry, right, and potentially reset this idea. Crappy volume, actually. Yeah, you'd be able to trade that fine, right? It like if my trade moves in futures, it's also going to move it with options. Now, there's going to be differences just depending on, you know, how they're priced, right? Which strike price you choose, all those sort of fun things. That's going to influence effectively how effective a options trade is. There's a lot more variables that kind of come into play there. That's really quite the shame we missed out. So options just really reward, right? Having good entry timing. They punish bad entries. So I'm generally not a believer that you need to expand your stop loss to be able to make more money. I think that's actually kind of fugazi. I don't think that that's true. If you want to make more money, you should be having tighter stop losses and buying deeper pullbacks, not being more aggressive in expanding your stop loss. Quite the shame we got shaken out of this. Now you'd have to go, yeah, 20.55 right as the stop loss. Be able to trade that effectively on the mean reversion concept. It seems maybe a little bit unlikely at this point. Yeah, bummer that it faked us out before giving us a move. But hey, that's the way it goes. Nice work, Mark. Congratulations. Okay, so maybe we can play this as a breakout scenario here on the 3-min time frame. We'd like to see it close above 100, right? That's going to be our starting point here. So it's got 30 seconds to go approximately, right? And it's got to close above 2100. So it's got to close above this number, right? So that we can target a move towards 22. And if it fails to do so, right, on the 3-min time frame, then I'll just swap this over to the 5. And again, right, pass on that burden of confirmation. So it's going to be close. Ooh, it closed right above. Okay, cool. So we're in play here. Targeting 2200. So we got to pull back to about 85 or so, right? Would be our entry target, give or take. Otherwise, we're going to be looking for the aggressive entry technique here. So on the pullback, we're looking for a move here to the blue line. All right, so we'll call that 83.75 or so. And then looking for a pullback underneath it, right? The gentle move. And stop loss would be 20.56. And be one contract here. And this would be the opening range breakout technique. So effectively the strategy, right? The high vol breakout targeting 22. Okay, so watching here closely. Let's see if we can get the good reaction. Okay, that's sweet. I'm in. So price 26,950, 26,950 entry price, one contract. Okay, took the stop there again. Let me type that one out. And that was a stop for 175. Stop loss for 175. Oh, down 656.60 here on the morning. Classic. And yeah, just another little fake out scenario. Has everyone been able to hear the like the whatchamacallit, like the alert for when I execute trades? Everyone been hearing that? Okay, I'm gonna do a test order. Let me know if you guys hear this. This is just a test order, right? This is not a trade I'm taking, just a test order. Did everyone hear that? Gave you 2. Okay, so YouTube heard it. Okay, I'll try that again here. Again, just another test order, just another test order. Yes, no, maybe. Okay, well, I don't know what else then. My computer is literally right in front of my microphone, so well, I'm not going to put any stress to that. Everything I can do, I'm doing. I can't really do much else than this. I'm sorry. I don't think it makes a difference either, but when people call me a bullshitter with my entries, that's the counter. So fine, that's your problem, not mine. Yeah, that's my feeling as well here, Mike. That is my feeling as well. Especially when we map out entry zones so everyone knows what we should be doing. Yeah, so kind of annoying with the double fake out here so far today. A little bit of a pain in the butt. No, I mean, that's my feeling as well here, Kyle, right? I don't think that it's actually going to help you be profitable in the same way where, like, if you're waiting to hear that to click your entry, you're always going to be behind, right? In the same way that if you wait to say that, here to say that I'm in a position, you're always going to be behind in those opportunities, right? And then when you're chasing my entry, you're no longer trading the same strategy, right? You're chasing me. So when I'm wrong, right, you're going to lose more money. When I'm right, you're going to make less money. And ultimately, that isn't a successful combo of information. So 100% agree. It's not going to be what impacts your decision. I think it seems like it should be, but chasing never leads to anything good. But I dislike opportunities where there's like any ambiguity, right, over what I'm doing. So, you know, my objective here is to try to be as transparent as I can be with my process and my technique. And so I want to make sure that everyone has all the information that's required. But I'm not going to be bending over backwards to help people do things that I don't think create them an edge. But we'll try to find that balance here a little bit. Maybe have an opportunity on CL. That's 11 points of risk or 11 cents worth of risk, maybe a little bit more than I would like. Maybe also a little bit extended here towards like sort of the profit target that we would be going for, right? 56.50s, a little bit of a ways away, or it's like a little bit close to the point where maybe I'm not going to be super trusting of that. Yeah, those two test orders actually cost me a bit of money. That's a bit annoying. Okay, CL might be finding maybe a potential bottom here. Excuse me. Let's see if we can get ourselves on the board here. Classic first day back. Classic. All right, so I'll be watching CL here on this 5-min. Stop loss 56.97 short. And I need an entry 86 or better. Ideally, we'll call it yeah, Joe. So I just haven't back tested Dow futures. I feel like I get more than enough opportunities, and my P&L trading those opportunities is more than enough. So I don't feel like I'm missing enough tradable names. I get more than enough action and I get more than enough upside with the tickers that I'm trading. So it's just a question of doing the work to backtest and make sure that my technique works on those ideas. But that process is very intensive labor-wise. And I don't really need to do it because I get more than enough opportunities. So I'm kind of a believer that the specialist gets paid more so than the generalist. And I've effectively been trading the tech heavy indexes for the entirety of my career. So there's a little bit of like survivorship bias, right, with that to a certain extent. But it just takes me, I don't know, maybe 100 hours, right, to backtest a strategy properly and to stress test it and do all that effort. And that's a lot of work where I don't feel like I need the opportunities at the moment. You get more than enough action. So it's hard to justify doing that and to put everything else on hold while I do that. Like when I was trading institutionally, I was focusing on large cap US tickers, with like probably a bit more focus on like the tech heavy names. So the Nvidias, the Teslas, the Metas of the world. And so I've just maintained basically that knowledge. Yeah, a little bit bouncy here, Robert, for sure. I do think there's still probably some opportunities left for us. But I've been faked out twice here this morning. It's not super super fun feeling. But that's okay. Shit happens. Again, right? Losing is not personal. If we make it feel personal, then it becomes personal. Okay, being down 680 bucks, not the best feeling in the world, but certainly not the worst. And so it's basically my job, right, not to allow that to trick me into compounding bad decisions and to giving back a lot of P&L or doing something that I'm going to regret. And it's certainly not enough information for me to totally change my system, change my technique, or to look for totally different opportunities. My win rate is a vanity metric, right? More than anything else. So I don't need to be correct 100% of the time. That's not what I'm judging myself off of. I'm judging myself on my ability to manage risk and follow my rules. And my win rate on the year is like, it's less than 60%, right? But my P&L has never been stronger. And it's less than 60% because I'm focusing on cutting my losers before they become massive losses. And I'm allowing my winners to run, right? So that I can really maximize my P&L potential. So the way that I trade, right, or the way that my strategy is built out, it's so that I have a lot of margin for error. You know, even now, even though I'm 0 for 2 here on the day, I'm still one trade away from being at all-time highs. And I could take another 2 losses even, right, and still be within that sort of kind of ticking point here. Obviously, my intention isn't to take a bunch of losing trades. That's not the goal. My intention here is to just execute my strategy and to follow my rules and to be basically ruthless in that execution. Yeah, so the reason I can't do CL here right on the pullback technique is because that candle isn't increasing outlier volume, right? So that's not a good confirmation candle. On this previous candle, right, the 1005 one for sure could have done that. But the only way that I'd be able to play this would be using the aggressive. You know, fundamentally, right, your best edge as a trader is your ability to lose small, not your ability to get massive wins, right? Massive wins come from a consistent, repeatable process as long as you manage your losers, because then you can actually compound the way here. You're just swinging for the biggest and most aggressive home run you can possibly find. And you might have some days where you make some really, really good money, but you're going to give it all back inevitably pretty quickly. So I don't want to do that. That's no fun. So my greatest edge as a trader is my ability to lose in control and lose well. If I can do that, then I can find enough coin flip opportunities where just based on the risk reward that I trade with, I can ultimately be successful. Choosing to ignore those basic parameters, right, is a guaranteed way for me to feel frustrated and to get annoyed and to be kind of ticked off. And neither of those are very appealing traits, right? So it's about being proactive, not reactive. Ultimately, it's the best loser that wins as a trader, not anything else. And yeah, of course, last thing I wanted here today after a week away from the markets was to start the day off with 2 losing trades. But hey, that's the way it goes, right? Market's always going to do the thing that we don't want it to do. It's always like the most likely outcome, it feels like. Again, it's not personal, right? There's no reason to be on tilt. There's no reason to be frustrated. There's no reason to be whatever. As long as you're happy that you followed your rules and you executed your plan, then you're behaving in a way that gives you an expectation of being profitable after a larger sample size, right? So for now, still going to wait for that next opportunity for a possible setup trigger. Nothing really looks reasonable here yet. Well done, Mark. Congratulations on a great day. Nice work, Herschel. And it seems some of these 5-min signals can give us an opportunity here. Like if that can go bearish engulfing candle, bearish engulfing on volume, then maybe we could have an opportunity to go green to red type day. Doesn't look like it's going to happen there. It's just an inside bar on ES. Still on CL, if I could get the aggressive entry technique here for a breakdown, that would be interesting. Risking 6 cents to make 20 cents. Pretty good risk reward. Remember, team, right? The most important thing that you can do as a trader is to lose in control. I know that sounds terrible, right? And it's not a fun reminder, but it is literally what differentiates the winners and the losers, right? It's the people that can get slapped in the face, right, and not take it personally that ultimately make a lot more money here long term. Yeah, maybe you're not going to get the flashiest and the largest, P&L screenshot here today, but that's like a BS vanity metric, right? So we're not optimizing for a day-to-day P&L. We're making decisions, right, that match our back test as best as we can. And there's always going to be variance to that data with how we execute and how things go. And so it's our job basically not to allow that variance to feel personal and to trick us into changing strategies, breaking our rules, going completely different techniques, yada, yada, yada. All that does, right, is it just elongates your learning curve and it never puts you in a scenario where you're going to be successful. So on a day-to-day basis, right, your P&L is noisy, not a very fair reflection of the quality of your strategy. Because when you backtest a trade, right, or you backtest a setup, you're not looking at 1 or 2 or 3 days worth of data. You're looking at, 2 or 3 years worth of data, right? So now if you're judging its success based on a 1 or 2 day sample size, right, from such a large data set, you're allowing the data to get too noisy and too personal, and you're never going to be successful, right? Because you're going to just bail every time you see something that doesn't behave the way that you want. The only absolute in trading is that nothing works 100% of the time. And so we can't make it personal when things don't. Like I said, my win rate on the year is like 56, 57%, maybe something along those lines, which is more than enough for me to be very, very successful here as a trader. And I'm like, I think obsessing too much over your win rate is a really pointless endeavor, because I would rather take 10 really small losses than 5 really big losses. And 10 really small losses, right, are going to disproportionately impact my win rate a lot more than 5 big losses. So it's about finding that balance, right? Finding that ability to maintain your element of control. And then you just play the numbers game. And over a 10 trade, 100 trade, 1,000 trade sample size, that's where you finish up on top. And so it's the more consistent we can be in our approach to executing our rules, both when things go well and when things go poorly, that allows us to finish on the positive end of the spectrum after that sample size. But if you're going to be overreacting to each little data point and piece of information, then you're just going to keep bouncing around between ideas, between strategies, between concepts, between rooms. And you're just going to keep getting the negatives, right, of each and every technique, because you're not giving it the time, right, to basically play out. So it's not to say that this is a pity party for me, right? That's not really the intention here. Or, you know, kind of how I feel. I feel fine, right, so far this morning. But it's just understanding, right, that we cannot make losing personal. And the second that it does become personal, right, that's when we lose our ability to be objective. And when we lose our ability to be objective as traders, we don't generally compound good decisions, right? We don't generally make decisions that make us any money. We tend to make decisions that make us relieve our anxiety, even if that means that we're losing cash. So can't fall for that trap. We have to be more deliberate and more specific than that if we want to be successful. And yeah, sometimes easier said than done, but it's a really important thing for us to focus on individually. They're pretty slow price action here right now. Yeah, potentially. Yeah, Robert. Yeah, maybe a little bit hungover. The market is. But even like the moves that were happening here to the upside, they kind of looked like they were pretty grindy. Like it didn't exactly look like it was the smoothest bits of price action. Again, maybe CL in play here a little bit. So just looking for a continuation effectively of this signal, kind of like bear flagging, right? Or flagging here since then. Stop loss. This is where I maybe have a little bit of a decision to make, right? Where, okay, normally you'd want to go stop loss here, high of your entry candle, right? For the aggressive entry technique. But we have 2 points above that, arguably 3 points above that, where I've seen price action fail and sell off. So it would also be kind of logical to place your stop loss there at that 97. Well, I'll watch that until it becomes a little bit more obvious over how to basically manage my technique. Not going to get that increasing outlier volume there. Since 10 a.m., it's been a very stuck market. Very, very stuck. Maybe I have a chance here on NQ, 15 min time frame. This is your confirmation candle here, right at 10 a.m. Inside bar, right, doesn't invalidate anything. And your stop loss would have to be the high of our entry candle, right, which is this one at 10:30 here. So 65 means I would need like a 40 entry or better, right? Which is the low of that inside bar. I'm definitely watching this here to the downside. Give me enough volume on the 5. Maybe on the 3-min I could get a similar volume opportunity here. Everything's trying to set everything up here, right? Stop loss would be, like I said, 2065. And it needs to pull back at least 10 more points here. So the way I have it set up, right, is my limit order is set as that blue line. So it's 2040 is my limit price that I have set up. My stop loss here is 20065. So that's 25 points there on the dot. I'm going to be looking to time my entry on a pullback above, right, that blue line. Now, it might not give me that opportunity, so I'm going to be switching here now to the 3-min time frame. Here's my high volume separation candle, so I might get that chance. I actually might be able to still get it here on the 15. Okay, so I'm going to keep watching it here on the 15 for now. Come on. Okay, watching closely here. Okay, sweet. So I am in average price 44.75, 44.75 short. Let's see if this thing can break down here pretty quick. So maybe not a perfect entry here again. Kind of been my curse a little bit today. Took the stop loss again. A little bit of a cursed day here. Fuck me. All right. Big explosion now to the upside. I think we can possibly switch our bias. Took the stop, minus 405. Bit of a bloody day here. So one trade away. We got an opportunity on this 5-min. Failed bearish move. Let's see if it's got the leg. Okay, so again, ideally looking for the aggressive technique here and keep the sizing small. We're looking at around like a 30 entry on the pullback technique. Not what I had in mind here when I thought about today's trading day, but that's okay. Classic. Okay, so we're going to be looking at the aggressive technique here now. So stop loss, we'll call it 60. Call it 59 on the dot. And so we're looking for a breakout above that blue line and then a gentle pullback into it. So now we're looking for that gentle pullback here. Okay. So I am in 79.75. And let's see if this thing can actually give me some follow through here this time. A better entry for sure. All right, so far so good. So let's see if this thing can break out over 2100. Bad reaction. He's getting stuck post entry. A little bit frustrating. Come on, go, go, go. Come on, push, push, push. Again, we're looking for it to get over that 2100 barrier. That's kind of our resistance here. Every time it teases up towards that, it tends to get stuck. My finger's on the X. So far, it's bouncing off of 80 okay, but it's not separating above. So each little failed move higher makes me more and more nervous. Come on, go, go, go. It's got to get over that 90 handle. Doesn't seem to want to do it. Come on. Keeps getting stuck at 89.90, right? Keeps getting stuck there. Okay, guys, I have closed this trade here at 83. I have closed this at 83. What I don't like how it's basically attempting to get up and over and getting stuck. So what I'm going to look for here is just another opportunity to basically reset and to try this again. So just didn't really feel as if my entry timing here was great, or like it wasn't behaving as if it was going to run here immediately. I want to reset here, see if we can get some better timing. Nice to get one on the board, but that wasn't the perfect reaction. So that was plus 55 bucks, right? So it's not exactly putting a dent into anything here. And then if this thing does give me that separation here above that 90, right, then I can use basically that previous area of resistance now as my support zone for a continuation move here to the upside. But basically my biggest fear here, right, is that it gets stuffed, stops me out, right, and then runs. So it just didn't feel like my entry timing there was perfect or that it was spot on. If that's the case, right, then I would like to, or I would rather reset, get impartial again here and try again instead of hoping that I'm going to get bailed out. So for whatever reason, that entry just didn't feel perfect. Felt like there was maybe a little bit of wiggle room left there and that maybe I was going to get chopped out before a move occurred. We've seen the fake out happen multiple times here today. So worst case scenario, right, I can always try again. And that's, yeah, going to be potentially how things set up, right? On this 10 min, this is my confirmation. So we're looking for an aggressive entry technique. Stop loss would be 77.75 and we'd be looking for that 90, right, to act as our support here for an entry because that's where we've seen price action get rejected, right? So instead of waiting for it to break through while we're holding a position, I would rather get out, right, see that it acts as support and then buy a pullback into support instead of front running it. So once we got into that trade, right, we got a little bit of information. And again, I've not missed out on anything here so far. Frustrating day, a very challenging trading day here. But that's the way it goes. I will say as like a general rule of thumb, right, is if I enter a trade and then it makes a higher high and then pulls back to my entry price, generally not a good indication that my timing was very solid, right? So if my entry price, we still have it up here, 79.75. We've tested that price here multiple times post entry in the last, we'll say 5 minutes. So not a reason, right, to be super aggressive because being told that my entry timing here isn't great. So if my entry timing isn't perfect, right, what else about my thesis is potentially wrong? And how can I get impartial so that I can see things here properly? CL, we have something in play here. And again, NQ, right, back under my original entry price. So making 55 bucks better than being down 55 bucks here so far. And a very challenging day today. Very challenging. So CL would be potentially the other opportunity now. 56.81 would be the stop loss. Yeah, so CL1, right, is what the forward contract is here, Joe. So currently, right, it's the May contract. So CL1 is always the forward contract. Okay, again, 56.81 would be my stop loss. I need an entry of 74 or better. Might be a bit challenging to happen. NQ now also breaking out up and over here on this 10 min. So again, might be interested in focusing on that. This is giving me slightly better and tighter position sizing. So I might be able to get more contracts, right, this time. We're looking at a 74, as is actually just only going to be one contract here, guys. let's see if we can get a little pullback now. So basically looking for those previous highs, right, to act as support here. Again, if this thing breaks out on the shorter time frame, problem, right? We're going to have lots of flexibility. Okay, so watching closely here. A few more ticks. I tried to get a fill and I couldn't get one there at 96.50. I'm going to cancel my hanging order. Try this again. Bit unlucky. Same setup though, right? Not much is changing here. Stop loss 074. Okay, we'll go on the 3-min time frame here now. So stop loss 20.99. I can potentially go 2 contracts here. Let's see if this thing can act as support. Come on. Man, how did I not get a fill there? Twice in a row. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I am in average price 108.25, 108.25, 2 contracts, long. And again, watching this very, very carefully. Fly, go. I got faked out stop lost. This is a frustrating day. I still think that this is the right thesis. I'm going to try this again here, guys. Stop loss is going to be the low of that fake out candle. Okay, so I'm back in here. I am back in. Let's see if this thing can go. This will be my last attempt. Otherwise, I'm just getting chopped to death here today. Fill price 105.50. 105.50. Stop is 94.25. Okay, much better here. Much, much better. So it's got to make higher highs here. I don't want to see it pulling back from here. And kind of another annoying reaction. Gotta sustain these higher highs. Gotta do it. Okay, I've closed at 106, guys. I've closed at 106. That's not a good enough candle to hold this out. So again, I'm going to try again if this thing behaves properly. Dumb day. I'm just going to keep resetting this, right, until it can break out away from that resistance and give me some conviction. We keep getting stuck and choppy, and I'm a little bit paranoid of getting that fake out again. It's happened too many times to me here today. Okay, so again, looking back for another opportunity, right? Taking the long way around today. So 2101 would be the stop. Come on, come on. And again, I'm not getting the fills at the time I want today a little bit. Okay, there we go. I'm in now. Average price is 110 on the dot. 110 on the dot. 2 contracts. And the stop is 101. I don't like this little failed move above. It just keeps getting stuck. And then it just fakes me out. It's a frustrating day. Happened like 3 or 4 times now. So it took minus 380 there. A bullshit day. Got a little bit of space left, but not much. I'm a little bit annoyed with the fake outs there. They're starting to test my mental capital here just a little bit. Just a lot of fake outs here today. Ton of fake outs here. Jeez, man. Has to go to 86. Ruthless. Gonna have to watch it back. But anecdotally, I feel like every trade I've been faked out on here today. Let's even get a failed move here at these highs. We've seen pretty weak bulls. Losses of... Yeah, kind of a bullshit day. Not what I expected after a week off. Strong close, good volume. Enough. ES is well in play here for a short. Likely. You're in play there. Could also go pullback technique. Okay, so I'm watching for a short here, guys. Stop loss would be 118, high a day. Might have a chance for 2 contracts here. Okay, still watching here. Come on, come on. Okay, so now we're looking at the aggressive entry technique, right? So this would filter me down to a 1 contract play. Say too fast of a pullback. Better. Hey guys, I am in short 89.25, 89.25. Let's see if this thing can break down here. The worst entry timing field I've had in a very long time today. Come on. Again, so not a perfect entry on this trade, kind of actually a pretty bad entry. So let's see if this thing can now start to break down. I'm begging for some follow through all morning, so let's see if this is it. You're right. Okay, last chance saloon here. It's got to get back under. Come on, flush, baby, flush. Nice entry, Mike. I think a couple things if I'm thinking about my trading here a little bit. I've had just a little bit too aggressive with my entry timing. That's made trades a little bit harder than they need to be. And so I'm spending more time in drawdown than I should. Like a little bit rusty. Yeah, the fake outs have been pretty annoying too. Gotta die. It's gotta die. Come on. Yeah, join the club, Sammy. Join the club. I've been chopped to bits here too, as you've seen. Definitely not the day I was hoping for here today. Yeah, I just got stopped out. Oh, it's so frustrating. Really frick. Enough to try this. Nice work, Jeremy. That's awesome. Really good risk management. You should be thrilled. One of the ugliest win rate days in a long time. Oh, it's better than me, Manjeet. Hey, nice work, Rajat. $1,500. Congratulations. Great work. Just hunting for fake outs. Maybe we can play a bottom move here on CL. Stop loss low of day. Fake out breakouts. Targeting high of day. Okay, now we're looking at the aggressive technique. So stop loss at 60. And what I'm going to do, right, is wait this out just an extra second or two. Basically make sure that it's not a fake out and go, because that's been the theme today. Okay, so now watching right here for a little pullback, 5 contracts. Into 70, right? That blue line. Hey guys, I am in average price 56.70 in 56.75 contracts. So let's see if this thing can go. All right, stop loss 56.60. Okay, so see if it can go. Hey, so far so good here, team. So far so good. The spread's a bit fucky. 2 cents at times. That's a bit more than I'd like. I'll make market orders very expensive, right? So make sure you're using a limit order. Yeah, if you're looking to get out of your position, right, it's a sell to close. So yeah, it'd be a sell limit order. So just watch the spread, right? If the spread is 2 cents and you're thinking you're going to get out at X price, you're probably not going to get that price, right? So if you see the spread expanding, you want to be using limit orders to get out at X price instead of now. That makes sense, right? So it's just a typical limit order, but it's a sell to close. So yes. I mean, if you open up your order window, you see a buy price and a sell price. The difference between the buy price and the sell price is the spread. Sammy, you should know this. These are basics, man. Yeah, the difference between the buy price and the sell price is called the spread. So if you normally see the spread being 1 cent and all of a sudden it's 2, not great, right? See if this thing can keep cooperating. It's kind of slowly grinding here. And it's not really separating though, which is annoying. Again, right? See, now the spread is again 2 cents. Buy 70, sell 68. It's got to get moving here. Otherwise, I'm just gonna lose my mind waiting. There we go. All right. Finally, a little pop. Let's see if this thing can now sustain. I feel like I've been waiting for that all morning. All right, team. That's 500 bucks. Let's see if this thing can keep going here. Again, I'm not going to let this go red now. I'm not going to let this go red. So what that means, right, is make a plan on how you're going to manage your trade if this thing pulls back towards your entry price. And again, if you lose confidence in the trade, right, focus on closing it as your P&L is increasing, not decreasing. So sell on the uptick, right? Again, a 2-cent spread. Let's see if this can keep going. I'm waiting to see how this candle closes, right? Strong candle shape, strong volume profile, and holding higher highs. I'm going to look to hold on. If not, I'm going to have to look to get out. So that's my plan here, right? I'm willing to wait for that. I'm willing to give it a minute. You don't feel comfortable doing that, right? Take your win and run. But the more specific you can be with your trading plan, the more calm you're going to feel. And the more that you can answer those questions for yourself, right? The more alpha you're going to extract from the market. So my plan is very clear here. Hopefully everyone understands what I'm waiting for. Okay, and now I need to look to get out, right, as my P&L is increasing. So watching this thing as it pulls back above 70, and I'm going to look to get out. Come on. Oh, it's a bullshit trading day. Sucks. And I'm waiting for the sell to be 70, right? Not the buy. Okay, come on. Go, 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 go. Sounds good, Antonin. Enjoy. Come on. Think so close. Watching, watching, watching. Go, 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 go. Okay, guys, I've closed that for a $200 win. I've closed that for a $200 win. Exit price 74. All right, so that made back a little bit here on the day, but a pain in the ass trading session here. Got faked out every which way and then some. Oh, and breathe, right? And breathe. Nice work, Mike. Congratulations. Honestly, I think there was enough opportunities to be green here today. Take a little bit of rust. Got in my eyes a little bit here. I think there was a certain part of me that really wanted to be green here today. And the market always does the opposite of what you really want. Closing at that 74, though, that was a really good decision. So plan worked out to perfection there. What's the time? Almost 9. Been really choppy. Might just have to eat it for the hatred. Yeah, it's not a big deal. Definitely paid a little bit of tuition here to the market. Oh, do I want to keep scalping away here? Well, minus 1565-ish here on the day. Ideal. One thing that's screwing with my head here a little bit is that I look at the clock and it says 9 a.m. What a life. Wicks are nasty. These two specifically, so the 10:30 and the 10 a.m. candle, horrific to look at. What do we think, your team? How's everyone feeling? Why go counter trend, Joe? Why fight the market? Why front run the short? Understand. I know that doesn't answer the question though, Joe, right? Like that's the cop out. What about the market, right, made you feel as if going short was the right opportunity? So that's the question to answer. Ultimately, right, even if I'm here trading with you, you're the one still that's making those types of decisions. And you're doing swing trades, right, which is not something that I call out in here. So why, right? Why were you willing to attach your ego to that decision? Oh, freaking course, CL. Why were you willing to attach your ego to that decision? And why are you unwilling to admit when you've been wrong? Those are the things you need to solve for, because as long as those two things are patterns in your trading here consistently, it's going to continue to maintain a pain, right? And the reality here is that the market can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. So what's the impetus, right, for that decision? That's the question you need to answer for yourself. Yeah, but Joe, what I'm asking for here, right, is a specific. Like these general jerk off general statements aren't particularly helpful. The more specific we can be in our analysis over why we made decisions, that we can learn from them and stop repeating those mistakes. So what I'm asking for from you, right, is a specific answer, not something that's like a general statement, because there's nothing that you can learn from that general statement. The more critical we can be, or the higher standard we hold ourselves to once we've made the decision, and the more thoroughly that we study those decisions, then we set ourselves up to actually learn from them and stop repeating those mistakes. So I have specifically asked you for something that is not general, and you keep spitting back general statements. If I wanted to hear like cliches, yeah, but what's your confirmation of mean reversion, right? So having a setup trigger is not a reason to enter a trade. What's your confirmation that your setup is correct? So you're not front running your idea, right? Thinking things are going to go short, cool. But what's your why? Not, oh, it's just 9 green days in a row. The fuck does that mean, right? That means nothing. So what's your confirmation that bears are back in control to then justify taking on that risk? So feeling as if the market can't go high enough is not a good enough reason. So you think that a little bit of pre-market price action is enough to invalidate all of the other previous days of green momentum. Well, the lesson is defining what makes your trade wrong, right? In the same way of defining what makes your trade correct. So if you're not defining your confirmation, you're never going to define what invalidates your confirmation. And if you don't define what invalidates your confirmation, then you're just going to attach your ego to your trade and bag hold it, right? And just suffer the pain of undisciplined trading. So being deliberate, right, is how you counter that anxiety. And you're not going to be able to cut your losses unless you define before you enter a trade at what point you're wrong. No, but it's not about doing better, right? I hate that kind of language. Like again, it's a cop out, right? Need you to focus on being more specific, more deliberate, right? Being more accountable to yourself. That's how you're going to get better. Right? So you need to think, okay, where in my trading plan did I lose that element of control where I was unwilling to basically complete the information that I was missing? You got to solve for that, right? Like every day you should come out of each trading day with something specific to work on, not some general statement. That does no one any good. So like for myself personally here today, right, the thing that I want to focus on here for tomorrow is improving my entry timing. My entry timing here today was pretty much early on all my trades, and I spent a lot of extra time in drawdown when that wasn't necessary. If I'm correct on a trade, I should be correct right away. If I'm wrong on a trade, I should almost be wrong right away too. Those trades where you get stuck in the middle where it moves, 1 point up, 1 point down, 1 point up, 1 point down for 10 minutes before it makes its move, kind of relies on luck then to get paid out. So, right, the thing that I'm taking from today's trading session is I want to focus on the quality of my executions, right, and improve my entry timing so that I'm getting a higher probability basically of being green right away. So then the question is, why did I feel rushed to make those rushed entries here today? Well, it's kind of what I'm writing down in my journal, right? I've been kind of I spent a week not trading, a week away from the market, a week where the market obviously gave quite a bit of nice room here to the upside and maybe felt a little bit of pressure, right, to make up for missing that move. So instead of allowing myself to be patient and deliberate, there was like this sensation of feeling I'm going to maybe miss out on the trade, right, or miss out on the opportunity, and kind of tricked myself into taking entries that were maybe either suboptimal or early. And either way, right, those were outcomes that were net negatives, right? Like today, 2 for 5 on the day, or 2 for 7, sorry, right? 2 wins, 5 losses. Not exactly a banner session. And so there's a lot to improve from that and a lot of things to learn. But the idea here is to be more specific, right? Get something deliberate that I can focus on here each day. Give myself something tangible. Just saying that I'm going to get better, it's too general, right? Get better at what? If I'm only judging myself here on my P&L, then every red day is going to be a disaster and every green day is going to be the world's best feeling. And those dramatic ups and downs are not going to help me actually improve as a trader. So I need to be specific in what I'm looking for here from a technical perspective, instead of using those general terms to describe my trading. I need to hold myself to a standard, right? Review my trading at a level of detail that would make most people uncomfortable. So the more deliberate I can be, the more specific I can be in the lesson that I took from today's trading session, the more likely I am to bounce back and be green, right? So each day I should be ending win, lose, or draw. What's one thing I did well? What's one thing I want to focus on here for tomorrow? What's one thing that I'm going to improve? So, okay, what's one thing I did well here today? I didn't take any full max losses, you know, a lot of 380, 175, right? Those types of size losses. So that made sure, right, that my losing day never really scaled out of control. What's one thing I want to focus on for tomorrow? Well, I want to improve the quality of my executions. I spent too much time in drawdown here today before moves made or before moves happened, and that drained basically all my mental capital before the opportunity or the thesis was able to play out. So having this fear of like getting faked out meant that I was jumping into trades maybe a little bit too early and actually removed my ability to survive drawdown, right? And then the thing that I want to focus on here for tomorrow, or the thing that I want to improve, is buying better entry prices, waiting for that elevator up, stairs down, right? And those gentle pullbacks. Anecdotally, thinking back on some of my trades, I almost bought a couple entries basically on like a rug pull where like the bottom got out, it gave a quick little bounce, and then I jumped in. So you can think back, right, to those three things and see how one sensation, right, influenced the other. So this feeling, right, of not wanting to have missed a move and being afraid of getting faked out, right, kind of tricked me into taking premature entries here today and rushing my executions. So what's the counter to that so that I can improve the quality of my trade, right? Or what's the counter to that so I can improve the quality of my executions here tomorrow so that I'm not allowing an emotional trigger, right, get me into a bad execution. It's about defining or explaining to myself here that, yes, this is what I think caused me to be a little bit more anxious, a little bit more aggressive with my entry timing. And so if I know that my bias here is to be a little bit more anxious or a little bit early on my entries when I feel that extra pressure, then I have to find a way for me to deviate away from that and to get more specific in what I'm looking for price action to behave like before I ever enter a trade. So what I'm telling myself here effectively, right, is that my plan on how I wanted to see price action behave before entering was incomplete, and I need to add more specifics to that execution plan if I'm going to solve those early entries. So I already kind of said it, right? But I'm looking for that stairs down, elevator up, and I maybe wasn't specific enough here today in my analysis of that. So that's what I'm going to be changing, right? And that's what I'm going to solve for here tomorrow. I want to make sure that I'm being really deliberate with the technical elements behind my trades, and I'm ignoring every other impulse, right? And I'm basically hyper-focusing on those technical reasons. So that's the thing, right? I need to be more proactive, not reactive. And today I was a little bit more reactive. That's okay, right? It's not the end of the world. It's a frustrating day, but it's okay. It happens. But we can't give ourselves excuses to basically avoid doing that work. And what you need, Joe, right, is not to map out your entry and where you should have exited. It's you need a set of protocols, right, so that your exits are binary, right? So for me, my stop loss logic is getting out at the low of my entry candle, right, or the low of my confirmation candle. So each trade has three parts to it, right? It's the setup trigger, what I think price action is going to do. It's the confirmation, right? Knowing that I'm either right or wrong on my analysis, i.e., if my idea was correct, what would a strong reaction post setup trigger look like? And then I can box in the trade, right? So I can execute my idea here successfully. What you need is a process or a technique or a system, right, to be able to answer those questions so that it's muscle memory. instead of something that you only notice in hindsight. So that would be the thing that I would focus on. So that you can make your process consistent and repeatable, not kind of luck of the draw. Hey guys, any other questions here? Any other questions? Any other questions, team? Any other questions? All right, team. Well, if no other questions, I'm going to kill the stream here for the day. Same deal like always, right? If you have any questions, hit me up outside of market hours, and I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. Otherwise, looking forward to catching up with a few of you here in our one-on-one calls later this afternoon. And yeah, looking forward to catching up with a few of you just generally throughout the week. Have yourselves a great rest of the day, team. And I'll be back at it again here tomorrow for what should hopefully be a stronger and more successful trading day. Dusted the cobwebs off here today, maybe not as well as I should have or could have. A little bit of a frustrating day. Something to learn, something to take from today's trading session. And we'll get better, we'll improve, and we'll bounce back like always. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really bothered by that, right? Find ways to back. Okay, a little bit of a pullback here, but not the end of the week. So have yourselves a great day, team. We'll see you guys all tomorrow, and we'll chat then. Peace.